Okay, this is another video for the P07 and the stealth pistol that the camera will not focus on no matter what you try to do. So this is the cover just in general pistol shooting and stance and grip and sight picture, trigger press, and follow through. So these things are important to accurate pistol shooting, and if you cannot hit anything with the pistol shooting it, there isn't as much really point in carrying it. So let's start right at the beginning. The thing that you want to do is you want to establish a proper grip on the pistol, and that's really important. The proper grip is one in which it's a handgun, not a hands gun. So that means that your primary grip is with your primary hand, the shooting hand. So what you want to do is grip it high in on the pistol, not low. So that's what I mean, high. You want to have it more or less in line with your forearm. So you don't want it like this, and you don't want it like this. I'm exaggerating, but what you want is it to be in line with your forearm. So once you've established a proper grip with your primary shooting hand, you establish a secondary grip with your support hand. And what that is it's like a kind of a C-clamp. You're coming around the pistol and you are placing the rest of your hand in on the rest of this stock in a way that supports the pistol. You can, in fact, press forward while you're pulling back a little bit. Sometimes that's a little more comfortable for shooters. So there, you're also gripping with this hand to intensify your grip with your primary shooting hand, which doesn't have to be super tight, but a firm handshake is what you're looking for, so that the recoil forces when they come through your hands are able to go through your arms, and the pistol returns back to pretty much the same position it was just before you fired it. So what you're looking for is that grip, and your stance needs to be a solid one. It's kind of a forward-leaning stance that you can absorb the recoil of the pistol down through your body, and it's kind of hard to show here on this camera the whole rest of my body, but your stance is kind of like a tennis stance. Your knees are a little bit bent. You're leaning down just a little bit, and you can absorb that recoil down through your legs and into the ground. You don't want to be leaning back on your heels. Just a little bit will tip you over, and that recoil of that pistol will tip you over because it doesn't take much to tip you over when you're on your heels. So you want to be on the balls of your feet. So you're kind of in a forward motion or forward position. So the next thing that you're looking for is sight picture and sight alignment. So your sight alignment is where you have placed the front sight in the notch of the rear sight, and the two tops are equal. They're level with each other, and there's equal light on either side of the front sight. The actual point of impact that you're looking for in a properly sighted in pistol is going to be top dead center of your front sight. So you cut your target in half, and the center of your front sight is on the center of what you're actually shooting at. So in your sight picture is where you've taken that alignment and you've placed it on the target. So say if you're shooting at a bullseye, you've got that thing cut in half. You only see half of that bullseye on the top of your front sight, and the bullet strike should be at the dead center of for a properly sighted in pistol. So important to these things is the most important thing is your grip and your trigger press being smooth and with proper follow through. Everything else is something that aids you in faster shooting and quite good accuracy, because I mean you can shoot fairly well in a point shooting situation, but if you're not really watching those sights, you're verifying that your gun is really properly aligned, and how finely you are aiming or tracking those sights is how finely you're going to be able to hit your target. But if you don't establish a proper grip and you don't do smooth trigger press and follow through, you've jerked the trigger and the gun has moved off target. So getting a proper trigger press, you really want to see the finger as a 90-degree angle, the trigger finger. So when it pulls the trigger, the gun really doesn't move as it's pulled to the rear, pressed to the rear. So some call it a squeeze, some call it a trigger press. The object is to not disturb the gun when you press the trigger, whether it's double action or single action. Okay, so we've established proper grip, proper stance, sight alignment, and then sight picture, and we do proper trigger press. The last thing is follow through. We don't just let off that trigger as soon as we've pulled it or pressed it or squeezed it. What we have done is we're pressing, and we keep pressed on it through the entire cycle of the pistol to where it's loaded again. Of course, it's a blink of an eye, but the object is to not start getting muscles trying to do something right in the middle of the gun cycling, or actually the hammer dropping and it firing. You literally are releasing those muscles to release that trigger before you've ever even fully pulled it and the hammer is starting to drop. So you're starting to run muscles on this side of your forearm and this side of your forearm, because you're actually starting to flex things to pull that trigger finger away, and there's no need to do that. You press the trigger all the way smoothly to the rear, it fires, the gun cycles, and you let off the trigger and you're back on it again to fire again. And that's the full trigger, or the full cycle of follow through. So we've covered all those things. You can watch this video again and again until maybe you got it figured out. Where your hand is going to fit and be 100% comfortable on the gun will probably work itself in just a little bit in your angle. I like to have my support hand with this bone here basically parallel to the ground, and I don't do much with the tips of my thumbs. It's all with the inner portion of my thumbs on both hands are what are providing the strength of the grip on the pistol. So this is kind of a longer video, but it covers a pretty complex, but once you get used to it, a fairly simple and easy to do thing for shooting. It's not that hard, but if you get everything and the muscle memory built up for it, you'll be fine.